John Coulson Kernahan was a British novelist. Born in 1858 in Ilfracombe, the son of Reverend James Kernahan and his wife Comfort Plewman. Educated at St. Albans School, he was intended to enter the church, but had literary ambitions instead. In 1892 he married Jeanie Gwyn Bettany, an author herself, with whom he would live until her death in 1941. Kernahan died in Hastings in 1943. He wrote fantasies with religious motifs. His early A Dead Man's Diary, written after his decease, won him esteem, and he would write more books of this nature, along with detective thrillers such as his The Dumpling, about a Napoleon-like figure leading a revolt to depose the British government, and works on both living poets and biographies of Swinburne and Kipling published after their death. In 1893 he published A Book of Strange Sins, which we shall be reviewing today. It is a moralistic story collection that nevertheless has some fantastic in it, and has a certain antiquated feeling to it that makes most of these stories quite enjoyable. The Lonely God is the story of a man who either fancies he dies, or nearly dies. In his dream/afterlife experience, he then stands before God's face, and God confesses his infinite loneliness, greater than that of any living thing. A Strange Sin is a rather bland story of a man with the heart of charity in his hometown, but then he is accused of a nondescript crime. Nobody, not even the jury, wishes to believe it, and the poor take the judicial house by storm. In the end, the man, who is the only one advocating his own guilt, is struck down in a fit. It is revealed shortly thereafter, in a letter he left behind, that he had done a terrible thing some years ago, and that was why he was so charitable, and that he committed the other crime to be recognized as a criminal. A suicide is the story of a man who wishes to commit suicide, but he is first led to believe that you can't cheat God of the time allotted to you. Has a twist good ending, but several passages near the end are very good. The Garden of God is a story about a garden with talking flowers and a butterfly. That ends with the characters' deaths when winter approaches. Has a certain charm and pathos near the end which makes it stand out. The Apples of Sin details how a man who is living with an affair, who had left her husband and child behind, forced her indirectly into suicide when he could have prevented it. He is then absorbed in morbid thoughts, and feigns to roll on a trip into some caverns. Then he realizes he loved her more than anything, and predictably knows her dead body is nearby, and in the end confesses to her murder. A Literary Gent is a far less fantastic story, in that it simply recounts the life of a man destroyed by drinking, written so he could sell it for more brandy. Not a bad, cruel little story. A Lost Soul has an angel show the true forms of spirits to a woman, and then shows her own, which is wretched. The ending is nice and has a certain antiquated charm.